Don't put your dreams to bed. You've done that enough. Now it's time to stir them up. This is your friend and host, Kirstie Fleur, with the Visionary Woman podcast, and I love resourcing the visionary woman, the creative, the artist, the business owner, the risk taker. And on this show, we will talk about what it means to get out of your own way and take your dreams to the next level. Join the conversation. Welcome to the Visionary Woman podcast. We are so excited to be here with you today. I have with me a friend, Maria Spear Ollis. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Okay. Great. I am so excited. We're going to talk about how to build a female support system in life and in business. We're joined with Maria today because we're going to talk about all the amazing things she does. She's an IP lawyer and a friend of mine. I actually got to benefit from her services recently, and it was probably the most epic experience that I've had with a provider here in Nashville. Oh my gosh. I'm so serious.
That makes me so happy to hear.
The whole IP and, intellectual property and law stuff is like very scary for me and confusing. And so to run into Maria, like just through Googling and trying to figure it out, and I'm like, she seems epic, okay? Like, she seems really amazing, and she's talking about like all the healing, wholeness, soul things or whatever, and I had never seen anything like that, so your brand is like on par.
Thank you.
But a little bit about Maria. She is a lawyer bringing peace of mind to coaches, healers, and content creators and experts when it comes to IP protection, contracts, and internet law. The focus of her law practice, the legal apothecary, is to help women maximize their impact by making the path to protecting and growing an online business accessible, easy to understand, and low stress. Maria also has a passion for learning about ways to tend to our minds and our bodies in a way that creates positive change in the way that women do business. So her podcast, she has a podcast, so she's a podcaster as well, and it's called Don't Rush Me. It focuses on just that, while her community, the Creative Soul Sisterhood, gives healers and coaches a platform to teach female business owners those mind and body-based tools. When she's not hammering away at trademark issues or recording a podcast episode, you can catch Maria dancing to early 2000 hits with her two sons, cooking with her husband, and hollering at her dog to get off the couch.
Yes.
So I love it. I want to jump in and talk about the legal apothecary and how you came up with this business model.
So I started practicing law in 2010, and then I worked in-house, and then worked at a law firm. And then in 2015, knew I was ready for something else and thought I would try and go out on my own and just kind of see what happened. And when I started my practice, I knew I wanted to do that IP stuff. I didn't really want to go into litigation and filing lawsuits. I had been there and
you didn't want to file lawsuits?
That was not a stress that I wanted to take on in my body, because, I can't help but feel my clients' emotions when it comes to
are you
all
an
of
empath?
this stuff. Yes.
Okay, me too.
Yeah, very much.
Empathing here.
And so I get into it as much as they get into it, and it was just a different kind of a path. And so, but I wanted to stay in that world of, okay, you've got a business. Let's go in and dig and see what we can protect and how to protect it. Because a lot of times, at least as women, I've found that our businesses are just part of our identity.
That's right.
Hopefully a healthy part, but it's part of us. And so if you can protect those things that make you you, and that you pour your heart and soul into, that's what I want to help protect. And so I kind of went from working with any kind of IP client to now, actually when my firstborn was born 5 years ago, we moved to Michigan for a couple of years, which is where I'm from, to be close to family. And I didn't want to be tied to any specific geographic location. And I thought, this world of online businesses and online creators, that was 2018, so pre when everybody was working at home. This world of online creators is really where I want to be, because there's so much, copyright, just to throw out an example, that protects creative works. And so traditionally you're talking about music and film and that kind of thing. But now we've got online courses. We've got so much content out there that's the stuff that, is that we're protecting now. So it's a really fun area of law to practice in.
Yeah. So do you ever work with men? Or is this
I do, yeah. I do work with men, yeah. And that's, one of the branding things that they tell you is, right, you have to talk to one person.
Absolutely.
And so a lot of times I'm talking to women, but that certainly draws in men too. And they like the vibe.
Yeah. Well, good for them. I love that. I love how you were able to use your skills, your core competencies, and turn that and use that, also the things that are important to you, like connected to your soul, really. So that's really cool. Let's talk about like your professional journey, like any activism efforts or personal values connected to your business.
Yes. So a lot of the work I do is kind of with coaches and healers, and there are kind of two passions that I'm kind of tied to currently. And one is just this notion of slowing down a little bit.
Yes.
As women business owners, I worked with a business coach last year. It was my first kind of coaching experience. And I used to, my husband would take, the kids would be gone or with a nanny or whatever. And I'd be like, all right, I've got 4 hours and here's my list. My list is long and I got to get it all done. And I can't stop to think about myself or anything, right? I just got to get it all done. And I started working with this coach, and she was like, instead of starting that way, she's like, it sounds counterintuitive. You don't have to meditate for an hour. You can just light a candle at your desk and just pause for a second and kind of set the stage for your workday.
Yeah.
And just that little thing made such a tremendous difference in the rest of my day. And I didn't know at the time, like nervous system and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's such a different place. And even if, let's say I was just creating content, just creating YouTube videos that day, you can see in someone's body and in their physicality, the tension, or just like, I have to get this done and move on. It's just this totally different place to create from, to work with clients from. And so the reason I started this community that I started is because I thought more women need to know about this, because people don't know, I didn't know about the nervous system or anything like that. And so more women need to know about this. And then just kind of along the same lines, wanting to work with healers and people in the wellness space is just this notion of sovereignty and autonomy when it comes to your health and your well-being, and being your own best advocate is something that I'm passionate about as well.
I absolutely love that. So is that how you started this community? And the community is called the Creative Soul Sisterhood.
Yes.
The one that's for healers, coaches, and business owners. So is that kind of where that was birthed from?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just so that women could hear about little different ways, whether it's breath work, whether it's, whatever it is, to kind of add these little tools to our toolbox.
I don't know any lawyers, I don't know if you do, that are this self-aware. This is the lawyer that you want on your team, And I will say, when we worked together, like, it really did feel like Maria was like a part of my team. I'm like, okay, this is my crew, this is my team, this is what we're doing. But we're like, oh my gosh, we need these trademarks. And honestly, I didn't know which trademarks we needed or we didn't need. I'm like, am I doing too much? I want to trademark everything, like some of my sayings and, all that or whatever. But it was really helpful. Maria was like, okay, so maybe pivot this and turn it this way so it can be approved and be accepted. And then you realize that, okay, she's not doing this just so that she can make money. We need to be fiscal, so we need to eat, we need to live. That's sustainable.
Yes.
However, like, it just felt like the sole purpose was making sure that you get what you want out of this whole process. And I'm just not trying to sign you up for something or get you in here and now you spent all your money doing this thing and then your trademark doesn't get approved. One of the things I remember you said was, I really want to make sure, like, this trademark gets approved. So you were doing everything to make sure that happened.
Yes.
I feel like in order to be that type of person, you have to be like so connected to yourself and your core and what you do, like really care about people to think that way. So
definitely. Yeah. I do care. It does me no good if you're unhappy at the end of the day. And obviously I'm not the trademark office. I can't make any guarantees, but I can make sure that all the little things are in place that should be in place to give us a better chance of you succeeding.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. I'm your team. I'm on your team. So we've been talking a lot on the podcast about building ecosystems and networks and how that can be sustainable for us as women. What do you feel like is kind of like, I know what inspired you to create this community and this sisterhood, but the importance, like that intersectionality between your law practice and what you do, like in the Creative Soul Sisterhood. What's the intersectionality there that makes it to where, this is something that women need to be a part of? This is something that I could spend my life doing. Does it feel like a life's work type thing?
It does, and it really feels like it goes together well, just because of kind of that passion and that mission that I mentioned earlier. Because some of the people that come are, we have a woman who's a sound healer and does the sound bowls, and she's amazing. But there's also, someone who sells mortgages, and she's in, like me, a very male-driven field.
Right.
That maybe doesn't have that feminine aspect worked in professionally and wants to incorporate some of that, some more of that into her daily life and practice. And so I love kind of the duality of it, welcoming in those healers and those wellness, the coaches and people who are kind of in that world already, but that might learn something new from a different practitioner or something. And then these other professional women who are like, I sell software for a living, but I need this. I know that I need this. I know that I can't just go all the time. And it's so interesting to learn about, mindfulness or whatever the topic may be.
Right. So how do you feel like this has helped you grow your business? Because that's the thing, right? That's the key. It's like connecting these women to their mind and their body. But how has it helped you grow your business to the point where you're like, I need to show other women that in this community driven with other female entrepreneurs, this is how we can grow our businesses. So how have you seen business growth that way?
I have seen it. I mean, on a personal, for my own business, I'm surrounding myself with the people that get it. And there's no really other way to say it, because that's how they feel too. Kind of like-minded women that get this way of doing business, of incorporating life into it, because, I know that there's a time and a place for that go and do. And certainly I have, those times, blocked into my schedule. Okay, here, I gotta get it done today.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's kind of a balance, right? But being with other women who know that if you've got a child home sick for the day, like, it's okay. It's okay to pause and have that day of pause. And just taking time in your day to roll into it and to have some kind of ritual or morning practice. And so I think that those things, the more that we can incorporate those things into our life as the norm, and not just like, all right, here's my self-care time. Like, no, that's part of your business. Your business is benefiting from that because you are in a better state to attract, and we can talk about that too, but attracting and also getting things done in a way that just feels better. Yeah.
That's so good. I'm thinking about your podcast, the title, Don't Rush Me. And I'm wondering, like, was there ever a time where somebody was, like, rushing you? And, like, I feel like there's a little Maria that's like, don't rush me. Like, saying, don't rush me. I have to do this, and I've got this going on, but I'm coming into it this way. Like, you're bringing yourself. So what's the story behind?
Oh, well, when I told my husband the name of the podcast, he just started laughing, because if we're going somewhere, he's like, all right, we should leave in 5 minutes. I'm like, I know, I don't need the time update. I'll be ready. Don't rush me. But also, it's that, but also just kind of, again, leaning into like having this slow start to the day instead of starting so activated. So it's kind of both of those things wrapped into one.
Oh my gosh. I figured there was a story behind it. I didn't know if it was going to be her husband behind it, but it reminds me of me talking to my husband. That's why I wondered. I was like, I wonder. Because my husband will say sometimes, you are so sweet. Like, he's been calling me molasses for years now. I'm like, why molasses? He's like, because you're brown and you're sweet, but you're slow. And I'm like, first of all,
beauty takes time. Okay,
it takes
don't
time.
Rush it.
People say I woke up like this. I didn't wake up like this.
No.
Had to put this together. We have children. But I absolutely love that. Don't rush me. So what are some business successes and stories of growth that you've had, maybe from women in business, your clients, or maybe for yourself as you've leaned into not being rushed and to slowing down into this ecosystem of female entrepreneurs that you're building?
Let me think about this a second.
I'm one for sure.
Well, I'm thinking, I'm thinking what I can share.
Oh, legally.
Yes.
She's such a lawyer.
I mean, I have a couple of things I can share, and some are just, it's going back to that ease and that not rushing and just trying to make, as you said, kind of in the beginning, that legal stuff can be so intimidating, and I hate that because another one of my values, let's say, is making this stuff more understandable, or at least taking some of that pressure off of you, because you as a business owner, the business owner doesn't really need to be worried about this stuff. I mean, you do. That's why I'm here. But it's not something that should take up your brain space. Your brain space should be taken up on the things that only you can do, right? And so that's why I love, like you said, I mean, it's just like music to my ears. I love to feel like I'm part of your team and like, okay, what's going on this quarter? And so that I can just take that and be like, okay, I'll run with that and make sure everything, every disclaimer is where it needs to be and all the things and you can just continue doing what you need to be doing. And, I've had some I have this, it's a contract template library for people who maybe they don't have any contracts set up. And so I've started rolling that out and instead of sending people a document that's, here you go, here's a Word document and you can, good luck. It's set up in a way that's supposed to make it easier. And I had a client describe it as Mad Libs, just filling in, clicking yes or no. And all of those things are supposed to be tools that I can provide to make this stuff less intimidating, to make it easier. And just... this is kind of a tangent, but just kind of in my YouTube or content or talking to clients, just being myself and bringing more of myself into it, because I don't want you to feel like, you're talking to someone who's got an office downtown, who's wearing a suit every day that's super intimidating. I'm going to show up, if I'm in jeans or whatever and talk about, I might have some crystals, scattered around. I'm just going to lean into those things that make me, because I feel like that helps to build a connection with someone. And that's something that my clients have said, it feels like I'm just kind of talking to a friend. Yeah. And that's what I want, because I don't want you to feel intimidated by all of this stuff. And that's some feedback that I've heard from clients as well. And that too makes it easier to, let's say a conflict comes up and I'm thinking of a specific client who had her work copied by a really big retail outlet. And so it made her more comfortable, to approach this and to get over the feelings not to get over the feelings that she was having, but to give me all the information, to give me the full story and trust me to handle it. She was comfortable to do that. And we ended up getting, a 5-figure settlement for her because that relationship was so good, I think.
Wow. That's huge. And I know you had to think about that one for a little bit, but that is huge. That's a really big deal. There's so much. I have so many stories. She's in retail fashion. I don't know what. I'm sure that's discreet. But I've had an issue like that. I think I reached out to you because of that issue that I had with some of my designs and tech packs and things that were stolen by a seamstress or a lady locally. I was like, I want to work with the local, women in the local community, all those type of things. And I was so sad. I'm like, why would another woman do this to another woman? But you do have those things that may happen in business. There's a lot of things that happen in business, and you need to be protected. You need to know your rights. You need to know, do I have intellectual property here that can be protected? Can this person sue or not? Can I sue or not? And so that was a scenario where I was walked through with you as well. So that is amazing. She's the GOAT.
Sometimes you get those big settlements and sometimes you don't, but it feels really good when you do.
Yeah. So where and how do you cultivate sustainable and supportive business relationships for yourself personally that feel inspiring?
I want to say I've been in a couple of masterminds that it really helps to be in that group setting where you're with other women business owners. Maybe your businesses are related, maybe they're not. For me, there were no other lawyers. So I love learning from people who are online, who are marketing, who might be selling, I don't know, a physical product, which I don't do. But just learning from other women, just like little things that they do, whether it's on TikTok or whatever it is, because it's inspiring to see, number one, just the growth that can happen, and number two, okay, how can I take that and twist it and make it my own, whether it's a method or something specific. So I love mastermind groups because everyone's there to grow their business, but you also kind of get a momentum going from hearing other women and what's working for them. Even if it's, I read this book and it was so inspiring, taking on, some of the tools that they learned. So masterminds are definitely one. And just community. I mean, that's, again, one of the reasons I started Creative Soul Sisterhood. And I've gotten feedback from other members. It's like, this is so nice coming into here and not being in an environment of here's my business card and here's what I do. And okay, who can I talk to next? It's more of a community. Everyone kind of knows each other and supports one another rather than it being that lightning round, networking, quote unquote. So definitely finding, your people, wherever that might be.
Yeah. Has that ever felt like risky for you? Like, because you have kiddos. And so is there any point where you like, I had to step back from business because of the kids? And so stepping back out there, how did that feel?
I definitely have to be good about my boundaries. And this particular community meets in the morning because that's way easier for me than, we go upstairs for bedtime at 6:30. So happy hours are pretty hard for me at this stage in life. So for now it's in the mornings because that's what's easier. And I know there's been some talk about, doing some events at night and stuff. And it's like, well, I have to plan ahead for that because, it's hard to say no. But yeah, just having those strong boundaries is important.
That is amazing. You're building what works for you, and then whoever else comes along, hopefully it is what works for them, and then they can lean into it. There's so many networks out there. There's so many mastermind groups and groups for women and all kinds of things. But what I feel like is different about what Maria is doing is that it is so contingent on community and being with. I call it withness, like being with each other.
And where it came from is that saying of build what you wish existed.
Yeah.
That's really what it was. I didn't see anything, any networking group, again, I put that in quotes, out there that was kind of like the vibe that I wanted it to be. And so I thought, well, I might as well try it and see if I can do it, see if I can balance it, without burning out, but see if I can do it and build what I wish was out there. And that's what I see a lot of my clients doing, whether it's in their business or community-wise. It's like, I wish there was something like this. Maybe I should try and create that.
I love it. It's so needed. I mean, like I said, you see there's several groups and communities out there, and it really is like, hey, here's some lightning round. Here's a person who does this. Here's a person who does this. Here's a person, hey, do you have a connection for this? And it's very that driven. And that is great for that community. And we need that, Sometimes I need to pop into one of those communities and go, hey, I need somebody for marketing. Does anybody know somebody reputable? And you got this group of women and you can do that. Other times it's like, I need what you carry, or I need to be a part of a group where I can be with other women who are in business, who are entrepreneurs, who get it, and we are challenging ourselves to grow in this way, emotionally, socially, body, mind, spirit, those things. So it's all needed. I love that. I feel like more of that is coming to the surface now,
Yeah.
Of course, because there's all the talk around spirituality and all the things or not. But I feel like more of that is coming to the surface as women are realizing that we really need that connection and that we can't just be running businesses and like hustle culture and wearing ourselves out. We really need something that's connected. So totally. So epic. Can you give us some advice just about, or tips on IP? Like when do we need IP? Like when do we, like if I'm starting a business, I'm an entrepreneur, and I have this great idea, or I'm coming up with my own model or something, or done-for-you service. At what point am I like reaching out to you as an IP lawyer, or do I have something that I need to trademark? What do you think?
That's a great idea, that's a great question. So there are kind of different stages, right, where you quote unquote need a lawyer. And I think kind of break them out into, okay, when you're first getting started, and some people are super comfortable in the forming of an LLC, for example. So maybe you can do that on your own, or you go through a service like InkFile or whatever it is. But kind of doing that balancing test of, okay, what's the risk involved in this business that I'm doing? If someone loses profits in their business, or is it a physical product that someone could theoretically get hurt? You know, the LLC is there to separate you as an individual or your family's money from your business and your business's bank account. So right off the bat, you know, I have a lot of people thinking, okay, do I need to file an LLC? And that's when I'll get a phone call. Trademark protection, here's what I say about trademark, which trademark covers your overall brand name, but also could be the name of a program or an offer or something like that, a community.
Right.
And in a perfect world, you will always have a trademark search done before you launch something, because worst case scenario, you launch something, you get a cease and desist letter, you have to rebrand and start over, and maybe yeah, yes. And the rebrand by itself costs money.
Yeah.
But, you know, you get a cease and desist letter and then call a lawyer, and there's, you know, fees on top of that. So that's why, for my peace of mind, and I'm very risk averse. Some people are not. They're like, I'm just going to go for it. But, you know, at least getting that search taken care of, so you know, okay, red light, green light, like, am I okay to at least use this and start? Registration is not as important as that search part at first. And also, you know, when you're talking about logos and things, I mean, marketing and branding changes, so maybe your logo doesn't have to be protected right out the get-go. But at least clearing that name and making sure, like, can I use this? Is there any risk if I choose this name? Doing that on the front end. And then in terms of the rest of IP, we talked a little bit about copyright, but copyright protects those creative things. So if you've got a course, if you've got worksheets, if you've got video trainings in a community of some kind, even, I mean, slow clap for the Copyright Office. You can protect captions on Instagram now as short blog posts. There's a word, not limit, there's a word minimum. So it can't be just a couple of sentences. But I mean, mini blog posts, you can register those with the Copyright Office, because people are using their captions as blogs basically now. So that, and then there's also, I mean, so much content. If you look at a blogger, you know, a DIY blogger, you're kicking out content constantly and maybe pinning things on Pinterest. And so I kind of, with copyright, my method is, you know, is there a big time, once in a lifetime thing, like a book? Let's say you're writing a book. Okay, yes, then obviously we want to register that book with the Copyright Office, because that's a major, you know, prized possession kind of thing. Whereas with blog posts, I say, you know, find some interval, whether it's monthly or quarterly or twice a year, where you're looking back and you're looking through your analytics, which you're probably doing in your content creation anyway, like, okay, what's everybody really been drawn to? And those things that have been pinned a lot or shared a lot or clicked a lot, those are maybe, you know, the more eyeballs there are, the more copycat eyeballs there are. And so maybe we look back and say, okay, these are the things that we want to register from the past quarter or month or whatever it is.
Wow, that is good information. So one of the things, as you were talking, I thought, okay, so when I talk to women, you know, I talk to them about fleshing out their ideas as much as possible. Sometimes you do have to live through it. You have to work through it. You have to just get going. But sometimes your business name changes. Sometimes your idea changes. Sometimes your course changes, or things change. So what's your recommendation there? Should you start, you know, as soon as you come up with a name, all the things, of course, you go, like you said, you go and check and see if it's available.
Right.
But as things are changing, do you go try to file another trademark? Do you try to go get things copyrighted again?
It depends on the change. If it's a complete name change, then yeah, I would. But in terms of materials and like ideas, methods, first of all, an idea should be as fleshed out as possible. So Uber and Lyft is my kind of go-to example because it's the same exact idea. It's just been executed differently, different branding, different, whatever, maps inside the apps. So you might have two women with the same exact business idea, but what's protectable is the quote unquote expression of that idea or their unique spin on that idea.
Their sauce.
Their sauce.
There we go.
Mm-hmm. Their sauce. And so it might be literally the content that you write or the videos that you create or the things that show your face and your personality and your stories. So that's important to remember when we're talking about protecting ideas. But as those things change, sure, from a copyright standpoint, yes. If let's say a manuscript for a book changes and is edited into something new, then yes, you'd want to protect the new version.
Okay. This process sounds less intimidating because you're talking to us about it. But you can imagine, and probably a lot of us have done this because we're either solopreneurs or maybe we've been in business a while, but we've probably all went out there and researched trademarks. Maybe you have even tried to do a trademark yourself. I definitely have.
Have you?
And it didn't go good. That's why my friend is here today.
I was going to say, I have fixed a lot of trademarks.
Yeah,
or tried. Sometimes we have to start over again,
Wow. Well, no, I actually I don't even know what the company or thing was, but I thought I had vetted and did all the research. I am a very great researcher. I have to pat myself on the back for that, And so I was really surprised that I picked this company that was not great. And they took my money, and I never got a trademark. They just took my money, and then So things like that happen. And the reason why I'm even mentioning this is because you want to make sure that you talk to somebody who is reputable and knows what they're doing, cares about your business, your product, your service, and the things that you're doing, and they're not leading you in weird directions. So this is good. Okay, so one of the questions, this is going to be my first time asking this question, but I think about this on every podcast that I do. And I'm like, okay, next time I have somebody in person or if I do a Zoom podcast or however we do it, I want to ask this question. So I am wondering, what song are you listening to right now? So if we pulled your phone up and we looked at your phone right now, what song are you listening to or what book are you reading right now that is helping you or moving you forward?
The song I'm listening to most is Better When I'm Dancing by Meghan Trainor.
Wow.
Better when I'm dancing.
There we go. Okay, so you're a singer.
Yes.
Okay, vocals.
It's just a good dance it out song.
Mm-hmm.
And then reading, I just started reading a book called Burnout, which we were talking about kind of off air, that talks about these cycles of stress and dealing with, if you're in a stressful situation, handling that, but then afterwards dealing with the stress in your body. And sometimes it has to be a physical thing, like running or jumping to get that stress out of your body. It's very interesting.
I love it. I mentioned earlier, we were off air, but I mentioned earlier, The Body Keeps Score. It talks about similar things, about trauma being stored in your body. And you don't realize it, but this really affects you moving forward and you being hijacked throughout your day. And you're trying to run a business and you're not aware. You're not self-aware. You don't know what's happening in your body. It matters. So books like this, resource, and moving your body, is that one of your things?
Yes.
That's one of my things. I'm I may not be the best dancer, but you will find videos of me dancing or me moving my body just to get that flow and that energy.
Yes,
happening.
for sure.
I love it. Well, Maria, thank you for joining us. To end our conversation, I want to ask you if you have any more tips and tools or anything you want to share with our audience that you feel like has helped you or things you feel like they need to know for their journey as visionary women.
Oh, my goodness. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. This has been so
Absolutely.
nice to be together in person. And I have a lot of resources. I've got a YouTube channel where I answer questions that I get all the time. And right now, I have a free resource where if you put in your information, I will do a little legal audit of your homepage. So I would love to do that for people in your audience.
Amazing.
Just to kind of find those little blind spots and help you figure out how to fix them.
Amazing. Okay, so where can they find you?
At my website, thelegalapothecary.com, or on Instagram, I'm Heyso Maria, Heyso Maria.
Okay, and if they want to get connected to your women's network?
Yes, it's creativesoulsisterhood.net.
Amazing. Okay, well, thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Thank you.
You are welcome. All of Maria's links will be found in the bottom in the show notes. So if you guys want to check her out and get to know her and her offerings, you can search those things there. So thank you so much for joining us on the Visionary Podcast. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening and joining the conversation today here on the Visionary Women Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to join our growing community, the FF Social Club, please comment, like, and subscribe so that you can be updated on our upcoming episodes and more happening over at freedomfleur.com. To catch the latest from me and to access amazing resources for visionaries just like yourself, please visit me on the web at www.kirstiefleur.com. Thanks again for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next time. Until then, don't forget to be visionary.